And we are officially live on YouTube for the Bird's Eye View Wild Card Preview episode. Joined in studio by a very special guest, Zoe Goldstein. Zoe, say hi to the camera. For those of you just listening, Zoe's my dog. She was in my room, so I brought her on camera. Uh, you know, Damn, hoping someone would be on video to see her. But yeah, Zoe making her podcast debut. We're here though. If only Zoe could talk, she'd give her thoughts. But we're here to preview NFL Wild Card Weekend, especially the New York Giants. Love you, Babu. Talking about the New York Giants being in the NFL Wild Card Weekend. We're gonna get into that later. We're gonna talk about a little bit about my preseason record picks for some of the teams. I still can't believe we're talking about a New York Giants playoff game. I know I sound like a broken record, but I really did not think that we were gonna sniff the postseason at all this year, and like it's incredible. But I'm gonna talk about that later. First thing I want to talk about is we have some other football that we have to touch on, and that's Georgia TCU, and that game was a complete slaughter, just like an utter blowout. I literally stopped watching the game midway through the second quarter. Once it was like 17-7, it already felt like, I know it's only a 10-point game, but you could just tell the way Georgia's moving the ball. TCU had that one nice drive, but you could sort of already tell it was kind of over already by the time it was already over by the time that it was 17-7, then 24-7, then 31-7, then they get the pick, and also it's 38-7 at the half. And yeah, I didn't throw on a lick of that game after that because just who really cared to watch the second half of that game? I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the lowest viewed championship game in college football history. Doesn't surprise me. The TCU already doesn't have the biggest following. Probably one of the smaller brands to make to the championship game, and it was a blowout game as is. So there was that, and just oh man, if only we beat fucking Georgia, man. We would have beaten TCU. I don't like to sound like that fan who's so cocky. Would have been like, oh yeah, we would have easily beaten this team, and yeah, we're better than TCU. I actually believe we would have beaten TCU. The only thing is maybe Ohio State's DBs would have been a problem with Quentin Johnson, but then at some point, we would have figured it out. And I just don't think TCU's defense would have been able to stop Stroud, Marv, Ibuka, Fleming, Cade Stover if he was able to play. I guess also Marv was able to play. I think we would have been able to handle TCU. And that just what sucks because of how close we were to beating Georgia and every little thing that went wrong against Georgia. Just every little thing was so close against Georgia. All those little things that it's if that goes right, we're national champions. And I can confidently say that. No, I'm not sitting here. I'm not crying that we're ranked behind TCU in the AP poll like some fans are. First off, it's the final AP poll of the year. Who gives a crap? It's the final AP poll. No one gives a shit about the AP poll of AP poll. It's the final one. Who cares? Guess what? TCU was in the championship game. They beat Michigan, who beat us. Yeah, I think we're better than TCU. Yeah, I think Bama's better than TCU. Gonna talk about it in a second here. So TCU definitely deserves to be 2 in the AP rankings. And the biggest thing is I can't stand. Hold on, what the hell is? Sorry, I'm trying to record something here. My phone just spazzed out. Give me 1 second here. I was gonna do the video recording, but my phone just completely spazzing out. I guess won't let me record any videos. So hold on. This is very fucking. This is weird. Oh, I guess I can't record videos on my phone anymore. So I guess a lot of this is just gonna be going straight on YouTube, and I don't know. regardless, I mean, you guys know if you follow me on Instagram, you know I do my videos from the phone. And yeah, for some reason the phone is just simply not working. I'm gonna reset it. Anyways, what I was gonna talk about was like everyone's using this game. Oh, TCU didn't deserve it. Clearly, TCU didn't deserve it. Clearly, TCU shouldn't be in. Like, give it a rest already, especially to Alabama fans. Like, first off, like, is Bama fans, LSU fans, Tennessee fans, isn't Georgia your rival? And like and you're rooting for your rival just because it's like it validates you. It's like, oh, our rival won the national title, so really our two losses are like going undefeated basically. And just SEC fans are annoying this. They're like, oh, we would have given Georgia a better game this. We would have given Georgia a better game that. Two things could be true. Alabama is better than TCU. Or all these things can be true, not just two things. Alabama would have given Georgia a better game. Alabama is better than TCU. There are probably a lot of teams better than TCU. And give me a second if my video works. I'm gonna. Okay, my video is working now, so I'm gonna restart what I was saying. Multiple things can be true. It could be true that Alabama is probably beat TCU on a field if they played. It's probably true that Bama would give Georgia a much better game than TCU did. But it's also could be true that TCU deserved to get into the playoffs more than Alabama. We play a regular season for a reason. I don't care if TCU got blown out. That doesn't mean that they didn't deserve to be there. That doesn't mean Alabama should have been over them. Like no, TCU, they went undefeated in the regular season. They played in a Power 5 conference, and their best win was against Texas. That was also Alabama's best win. And TCU beat Texas by a bigger margin than Alabama did. Both of them in Texas. So like, yeah, like that ends the argument right there. Again, all these things can be true that Bama is a better team than TCU, but TCU had a better resume and deserved to be in the playoff. And I don't see, why people get so mad about that argument. And then if your argument's like, and then people who get mad about, oh yeah, TCU the better resume, and they say, oh, if it's to get it's the four best teams, not the four best resumes. Still, like it doesn't matter. Like you play the game to sniff out the best teams, and the resumes do that. It doesn't matter if you think it go head to head. TCU won 12 games, Bama won 10 games. I still can't believe this. I still can't believe that people are actually having this argument that just because we lost 2 games by combined 4 points, we're better than TCU. TCU was a joke that didn't be in. Don't forget TCU beat Michigan, who was undefeated in the regular season, absolutely especially hammered them in the first half. Look, this Georgia team. That game was a lot less about TCU not being in the moment than it was about how good Georgia is. This Georgia team is ridiculous. Jalen Carter is going to be a superstar in the NFL. Like, and I think he's going to have Aaron Donald level dominance at the next level. He is that much of a stud, that much of a freak athlete. Like Jalen Carter, yeah, he's him. And look, Stetson Bennett, he's not anything impressive. Like I think they could have put a lot of QBs in there that would have done well. But hey, like when you have a guy who's older than me, Stetson Bennett's 25 years old, and it's crazy that he's still playing college football. And if a guy that old playing amongst 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and playing mistake, just did his job. Did his job well enough, Stetson Bennett, and that was it. But but with Georgia, that defense was just so dominant, and they had good receivers. The two tight ends, Darnell Smith and Bowers, are just incredible. Like an electrifying duo. You normally think, oh yeah, everyone thinks, oh yeah, look at Ohio State's receiving duos, Marv Harrison and Egbuka. Well, that tight end duo is just as scary, and like they mismatch on so many guys, and there's so much Georgia can do with them, and there was just no stopping them. Simple as that. Like the Bulldogs. They've now won back-to-back titles. They've lost one game in the last 2 years, and I'd say they're not in a dynasty yet. Like back-to-back titles doesn't give you a dynasty. Don't forget Bama. Like they won so many. I'd say if Georgia, if they win one more, or even 3 and 4 years, as long as Bama doesn't win this next one, then that's really their dynasty. If in the next 3 years Bama wins if in the next 3 years it's like Bama wins a title, Georgia wins a title, then I feel like it's still more of a we still have more of a Bama dynasty than a Georgia dynasty, or it could just be like the Bama Georgia dynasty if they're the next two championship winners. Regardless, like that's it. It was like the worst college football game title game in recent memory. Definitely the worst since we had the playoff. Uh, I mean, other games that come close, like just regardless, were I guess that Bama Notre Dame game. That one was bad. I mean, Bama LSU. I mean, that game was 21-0. That game was just like, I mean, at least this game you had Georgia's offense to entertain you. That game was the. But yeah, so that's it. College football season's over. On the off season. I wish Ohio State had beaten Georgia because I really think we would have beaten TCU, but like, whatever. It is what it is. We didn't. Million different things could have went our way, but the fact of the matter is Georgia's the champion, and they deserve it. Like their team is just that good. They're that well coached. They have NFL studs everywhere, and the level that Kirby Smart's recruiting at, they're going to be dominant for a long, long time. And also, not to mention the fact that like like somehow he can motivate them. Like these players were literally believing, oh, like the fact these players actually came out and said, and people were saying we were going to go 5-7, 6-6 before the year. Who the hell was saying that? I'm pretty sure like Georgia was one of the most unanimous picks to go into the playoffs. Even when they played Tennessee, I don't think anyone was actually giving Tennessee a chance. So like Kirby Smart, hats off to him for getting that team motivated. I heard this when I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast this morning. They said that at Alabama, back when they used to, back in the early days when Kirby Smart was still there, Saban would make up fake headlines to motivate and fire up his team. And like Kirby Smart was on that staff. Like, did Kirby Smart do that? And like, are these players that dumb to really, really, really buy into that? So that's it. That is the last thing for college football that I'm going to touch on. I'm going to move back and touch on the NFL and go talk about the NFL now. Playoffs. Before I get into the playoffs, some coaches fired. We had the big three that were fired in the midseason. We had Nathaniel Hackett. We had Matt Rule, now coach at Nebraska. And we had then we had first off, it was Frank Reich, taken over by Jeff Saturday. I mean, that was Jeff Saturday is literally up there for the worst hires. If it wasn't for Urban Meyer last year, and even Nathaniel Hackett this year, Jeff Saturday might be the worst hire in NFL history. Somehow, like he's 3, and these guys like saved John Gruden, who I thought was like going to be the worst hire in NFL history for a while, and now like he's outside the top 3 because of these moves in recent years. But yeah, so other coaches who got fired on Black Monday, Cliff Kingsbury. We all knew that was coming. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, that dude. I think he's one of the worst coaches in football. He was an idiot. Had no idea what he was doing. Had no idea how to lead a team. Look, Kyler Murray was talented, and like you guys know, I'm not a Kyler Murray guy, but like he had made no adjustments year in year out. He would start fast. Not even this year. Most years he'd start fast and have an awful ending. This year started slow, awful ending. Now I know Kyler was hurt for the final few games, but like their season was over well before Kyler Murray even got injured. I mean, to this day, I don't know how Cliff Kingsbury like still got a job. How Cliff Kingsbury got a job with whatever it's called, the Cardinals. Like he was at Texas Tech. He was 35-40 at Texas Tech. He had a losing record in college, a losing record in the Big 12, which, face it, is not a strong Power 5 conference. He had a losing record. He had Pat Mahomes as his quarterback. He had Patrick Mahomes, who was he was easily the best quarterback in the NFL right now, as his college quarterback. Now, Pat Mahomes was not anything special. I mean, he was good in college, but he couldn't even win with Pat Mahomes as quarterback. Like, that's just how bad of a coach Cliff Kingsbury is. Like, and he falls up. Like, part of my takes for this choke. He'll probably get hired as a GM or something. He's gone. Lovie Smith is gone after a year. And Sean it seems like that's it. There might be a 6th opening with Sean McVay. There's rumors if he's, is he going to come back? Is he going to come back? Is he going to retire? Looks like, people inside would be shocked if McVay comes back. So looks like he's walking away. I feel like in that situation they'll hire Raheem Morris. Could be wrong. I think the Texans are going to go with former Texan D'Amico Ryans. At first I had Shane Steichen going to the Cardinals, but I'm seeing some Sean Payton stuff, so I feel like he's going to go there. I think Wilkes is going to stay. I actually think Wilkes is going to stay in Carolina. Uh, I think Harbaugh. There's a good chance Harbaugh goes to Denver if they offer him the money. I don't know if they will offer him that money. If they do offer him like $10 million a year, I think he takes it. But if not, I think they go to Dan Quinn. Colts. I have no idea who the hell they're gonna hire. Yeah. So that's really it. Coaching stuff. We Giants week 17. I mean, I didn't even do my Twitter post game recap because it was a meaningless game for us. I mean, really, the game was completely meaningless for nothing. We were putting in our backers. We had Davis Webb starting. Davis freaking Webb, the guy who we thought was going to be the future of this team in like 2016, 2017 to Eli Manning. He got his first career start, and hell, he almost beat the Eagles. Like, this was a game where the Giants, as you saw when they matched up against the Eagles a couple weeks ago, already there was a significant roster disadvantage against them. Then you had backups start an already significant roster disadvantage, and they held their own. I mean, Kenny Galladay with his first touchdown as a Giant, like finally, and like, it's funny that in a game where we're clinching, we're resting our starters. People are saying, "Oh yeah, hodgepodge group of wide receivers," but the game where we're resting our starters, including our practice squad wide receivers, on quote, as I've said, but we're playing our $76 million wide receiver, and yet he gets his first touchdown as a Giant over Darius Slay. And Darius Slay was a little butthurt about it, I think, because he went to Twitter like right after the game, right after they won, and quote tweeted the Giants, thanking them for releasing James Bradberry. Like, little weird that he did that. But like, you do you, Darius Slay. I guess Kenny Galladay cooking you burnt you that much, buddy. Literally in your head. It's the playoff times. Uh, I'm gonna talk about the Giants last in that game. Actually, so first off, you know what? Actually, NFL. Let's end with the NFL with that. I'm gonna quickly go through my awards. So MVP preseason, I said it was gonna be Josh Allen. Uh, I wanted to go him. I thought he looked like he might be that mid-season. I think I picked him mid-season, but I said with an asterisk, depending on how his elbow injury impacts him. It impacted him a bit. Like, Mahomes just led the league in yards, led the league in touchdowns. Mahomes is clearly the MVP, got the Chiefs the number one seed. Like, I think there's no doubt he's going to win it. Offensive player of the year, I have it being Justin Jefferson. That's just simply because, Justin Jefferson is just a freak of nature. I've called him the best receiver in football. Most catches, most yards. Like, the offensive player of the year award typically doesn't go to a quarterback unless, like, it's a quarterback who wasn't the MVP but put up unbelievable numbers, but just didn't win the MVP because maybe their team didn't have as good of a record or something. But it's going to be Justin Jefferson. Defensive player of the year. This is really a two-horse race between Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons. And like all year long, it looked like it was Micah Parsons. Micah was going to run away with it. But Nick Bosa, that Niners defense just dominated teams down the stretch. And Bosa leading the league in sacks, forcing fumbles, getting a ton of pressures, QB hits, anchoring the Niners defense, which is one of the top defenses in football. And this defense has been, people said this defense has helped get them the Super Bowl 2 years ago when they lost to the Chiefs. This defense looks like it's even better now. Bosa's at the top of his game. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's Sauce Gardner. There's no one else. Sauce Gardner's already established himself as one of the top cornerbacks in football as is. And now, Aiden Hutchinson also had a great year, really strong year. I just think what Sauce Gardner did was just simply incredible. But almost any other year, Aiden Hutchinson seems like he'd be the favorite. But Sauce Gardner already turned out one of the NFL's top corners. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I want to go with my Ohio State guys, Olave or Wilson. but I have to say it's Brock Purdy. Look, no rookie came out and did something like what Justin Jefferson did something like what Justin Herbert did something a lot like Josh Jacobs, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley did. No rookie receiver, like a running back, really came and lit the world on fire. The only rookie quarterbacks who came in were Purdy and Pickett, was meh at best. Purdy, he won games. He did not turn the ball over. He went undefeated as a starter. He played great ball for the 49ers. He played really efficient in that offense. Yeah, he didn't play all 17 games, but he won all the games he played, playing the most important position, helping the 49ers secure the number 2 seed in the NFC and become, arguably the NFC favorite. Yeah, Brock Purdy is the rookie of the year. And my coach of the year, Brian Daboll. I mean, look, anyone, I don't want to hear arguments. I don't want to hear arguments like again, you can argue Kyle Shanahan, and I think Kyle Shanahan has the best argument because of the three quarterbacks, and that's fair. But Sirianni, I don't want to hear the arguments about Sirianni now the 14. If they were 16-1, 17-0, okay, Sirianni. But look how stacked that roster is. Give their GM executive of the year if you want. Other guys like Doug Peterson's another candidate, but I think the slow start. Giants beat him, had a better record. I saw an article today that had Mike Tomlin that said Mike Tomlin should be second. That should be the coach of the year. Mike Tomlin didn't go to the playoffs. Yeah, you can give Mike Tomlin coach of the year credit because of his strong finish. But what? A strong finish, so you're just going to ignore what he did. You're going to ignore the fact that he started 2-6. No, he doesn't get coach of the year just because he extended his winning streak record because he missed the playoffs with a team that made the playoffs last year. That was dumb. The coach of the year is Brian Daboll easily. He took a team with zero expectations, a team that had lost double-digit games each of the last 5 years. Turn them into a playoff team. Turn them into a team that clinched the 6th seed. So none of this, they got to win the 7th seed. Turn them into a team that clinched in week 16. So none of this, or week 17. Yes, the week 17. So none of this, they needed the extra week, blah, blah, blah. The Giants, they deserved it. They deserved to clinch the playoffs. They are there. Daboll's the coach of the year. And I'll be honest, I could go bias and say give Saquon that comeback player of the year award. But no, you have to give it to Geno Smith. That story is simply just incredible. And quickly, I'm gonna pull up the this old PowerPoint here. Give me a second. It has some of my record predictions from the preseason. I want to see what was I spot on about, and what did I just completely tank on? Give me a second. We are opening this Excel now. Preseason. Here we go. So yeah, preseason I had the Bills at 14-3. I think that was pretty right. I was pretty spot. I got the Dolphins and Jets spot. Dolphins and Patriots spot on at 9-8 and 8-9. Jets at 5-12. All right. Chiefs I got at 14-3. That was spot on. I had the Chargers 11-6 spot on. I had the Steelers 8-9, close enough. I had the Browns 7-10, so I was spot on with the Browns. I know a lot of Browns fans said in the comments, "Oh, what? No, we're not that bad." So yeah, that's pretty good. The things I'd say I was wrong on, really So I did pretty good in the AFC. Yeah, I had the Texans with 1 win. But look, they were close. So yeah, I'd say those are my pretty spot on with the Bengals 12-5. 12-5 on the Ravens. Look, I know things got a little weird there with the Lamar injury. Pretty spot on with the Chiefs 14-3. Pretty spot on with the Bills 14-3. Pretty spot on with the Chargers 11-6. So I was in the NFC 5 for 7 with my playoff teams. Did good picking the Dolphins and Patriots as well. My biggest misses, I had the Jets at 5-12, and all right, 2 games separated, not horrible, but the way they started was a lot better. I had the Raiders 11-6 in the playoffs. I had the Broncos at 10-7. I said the entire AFC West would go over 500. Definitely probably my worst take I had in the preseason. I was really high on the Raiders and pretty high on not as high as everyone else was on the Broncos. I still had them missing the playoffs, but I still thought they'd be good and competitive. I didn't think they'd be as bad as they were. And the Raiders, that was bad. AFC South, I mean, the Titans, I had 8 and 9. I had them underachieving. I was pretty right on there. I had the Jaguars 4 and 13, Colts 11 and 6. So pretty wrong on both those teams. I mean, I think I switched when the Jaguars beat the Colts in week 2. I turned. That's why I put a future on the Jags to win the AFC South. And they ended up didn't look good there for a while. Then they ended up coming back to win the South. So I bought in early, but I didn't necessarily believe them preseason. I had the Colts 11 and 6, and oh boy, that was wrong. NFC, so yeah, NFC I was pretty wrong. So the NFC West, Niners 11 and 6, okay. Cardinals 7 and 10. I may have given them too much credit. These two are bad. Seahawks, I had 2 and 15. I was very, very, very low on the Seahawks at 2 and 15, and oh boy, did they prove me wrong. The Rams, I was very high on at 14 and 3. Awful, awful, awful pick. The Bucks, I was also high on at 13 and 4. Now they made the playoffs, but they were an 8 and 9 playoff team, not a 13 and 4 playoff team. I had the Saints at 10 and 7, getting a wild card. So yeah, I was a very high on the Saints team, and they did me dirty. Panthers, I had 6 and 11. Falcons, I had 1 and 16. So Panthers were like my closest hit in the NFC South. I had the Packers winning the NFC North with the Vikings getting a wild card. Lions at 7 and 10. Bears at 3 and 14. So I was spot on with the Bears. I gave the Packers too much credit, which I said I could be completely wrong on the Packers. I had them going 2 and 5 before the preseason. I said I could also see them going like 8 and 9 or 9 and 8 and missing the playoffs. I said I could see that. I didn't say they would, so I'm not going to take credit. What I could see did happen, but what I predicted didn't. So in the NFC, is that it? Just 3. I only got 3 of the playoff teams right in the NFC: the Vikings, the Niners, and the Bucks. And the Niners and the Vikings I had as wild card teams, not division winners. Rams missed it. Seahawks made it. Saints missed it. Packers missed it. Cowboys and the New York Football Giants made it. So yeah, some interesting predictions I may have made in the preseason, and record-wise, that's how they went. Moving on now. Quickly, other things that we're going to touch on before these playoffs. That's the last thing I want to get into are these games. That's the last thing I'm diving into are the games. College basketball, conference play starting up. Things are getting sexy in the sport again. It's getting fun. I'm having my nights where I'm watching college hoops, although I'll be a little late to watching it because of this episode tonight. But you know what? It's like college hoops. That season is upon us. Conference season, and the Kentucky Wildcats lost at a home to South Carolina, which is one of the worst losses in John Calipari's history. Things have not been going right for the Wildcats, who I predicted to win the college basketball championship this year. We're gonna pretend I didn't do that. Hey, I got my preseason pick right last year. Can't always be right because Kentucky right now, after people are looking at them, okay, they had a hard schedule, they're struggling, they'll turn it on, they'll probably be good. But right now, I haven't seen them bracketology as like a 7-8 seed. After this loss to South Carolina, they're probably on the outside looking in now, Kentucky, and not good for my preseason championship pick. Carlos Correa back to the Twins. I mean, that whole thing was just a saga. First, he goes to the Giants, signs a mega year, 13-year, $350 million deal. That falls through because of something with his physical. Goes to the Mets, 12, 315. At that point, I'm thinking the Mets just I actually thought there was something shady going on, and Boris did something. I don't think it was an actual thing with the physical. I thought it was just a way. So the Mets wanted him, the Mets got him, and it was gonna be some sly, sneaky Steve Cohen, Scott Boras, snaky stuff to get him with the Mets and get him on a championship team. But no, he's with the Twins. Interesting dilemma, and I'm just glad because Mets fans are ready to declare the city theirs after Carlos Correa. So that's really it in terms of basketball. uh, NBA. I'm not really gonna touch on, but there is some NFL playoff talk I want to discuss. So but first game I'm gonna talk about is Bengals Ravens, and like there is first thing I gotta say, it doesn't look like Lamar is gonna play, and I just have to say there is definitely something with this Lamar situation that is a little weird going on. With look, and I asked something to have to do with Shannon Sharpe and what Shannon Sharpe said on his show about why Lamar, he hasn't gotten paid yet from the Ravens. If he's not at 100%, why would he go out there have a bad performance and risk losing his salary? So I think from there that there's a little bit of that with Lamar going on. I don't want to risk re-injury, risk losing this salary when I haven't been paid yet. So I think there's definitely something fishy going on with Lamar's injury, him not wanting to play because of the contract thing, something with the Ravens and them just signing Raekwon Smith, a linebacker, a big deal, but still not signing Lamar. I really don't know how this saga is gonna go with Lamar Jackson. I assume he's gonna be back, but you never know. This could end up with them trading him, or at least him being on the trade block, which I think would be dumb because look, I think Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in football. Right now, I'd have him as I think I have him my fifth best quarterback uh, behind Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes, and Allen. I think he's right up there in the top five. Uh, I mean, look with Lamar Jackson, everyone's gonna say, "Oh, look this, that. Oh, he's a running back this, he's a running back that." And I know, I could sound hypocritical defending Lamar Jackson, but getting on Kyler Murray, getting on Jalen Hurts. Uh, but look, with Lamar Jackson, he is playing with an idiotic offensive coach. Greg Roman's an idiot. The system is horrible. The wide receivers are horrible. And Lamar continues to put up great numbers. I think if he was in a legitimate great system, Lamar Jackson would be an absolute super. Could be really, really he already is a superstar, but he would shine even more and go down as potentially one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So I don't know what the future holds. There's something murky about it. Lamar's not going to play. We just know it seems like that way. They're going in that direction. For that reason, I'm taking the Bengals to win. Even if Lamar was playing, I probably would pick the Bengals. But again, I just don't see him playing. I see it a lot what Shannon Sharpe was saying. Him trying to conserve his health and make sure he doesn't risk either putting up a bad performance that gets him labeled as the guy who can't get it done in the playoffs, guy who can't get it done in a big pressure situation, or a risk re-injury where all of a sudden he gets a serious injury, and now who wants to pay a quarterback coming off that serious of an injury what he wants? So I have the Bengals winning, and with Lamar out, I think they're going to cover the 8.5-point spread. Moving on, Niners Seahawks. Now 9.5. I definitely see. I think Seattle could compete. This is a rivalry game. At the end of the, for them, for Brock, everyone's like, "Oh, Bigford helps Brock Purdy so much." This is literally Brock Purdy versus Geno Smith's first career start in the playoffs. There's a lot of quarterbacks: Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, all making their first career playoff starts. Skylar Thompson, even Tyler Huntley. I know, those aren't the guys that he's been making their first career playoff starts, but a lot of these guys are. And Geno versus Purdy, that's intriguing. It's a rivalry game. We've seen these NFC West matchups. At the end of the day, the Niners, they played Seattle twice this season. They handled them twice. Now, Seattle's defense, I think, could make the plays. They could potentially limit Purdy. They did that. Their defense kept them in the game the last game, but that was Thursday night in Seattle, game where I picked Seattle to win because Seattle does well in prime time. Now you're going to be in San Francisco. Geno Smith, who's calmed down a bit down the stretch of the year against the Niners team that's probably getting Deebo Samuel back. Niners team that's been hitting their stride, that's been killing with running the ball. That hasn't lost a game since McCaffrey's been here. Give me the Niners are winning that game, but I'll take Seattle. I'll lay Seattle the 9.5. Chargers, Jaguars. If I was not a Giants fan, this would be my favorite matchup of the weekend because I think these two guys. I think Mahomes and Allen and Burrow, because Burrow Mahomes and Allen are in their own tier right now. Mahomes is in his own tier. Excuse me. I put Burrow and Allen in their own tiers. QBs who just lit it up. Burrow's been in a Super Bowl. And then I have like Lamar, Herbert, and Lawrence in that tier. I mean, Lawrence could cement himself as a top four quarterback if the Jaguars beat the Chargers. And with a run here, and look, this Jaguars team, they're dangerous. They're hot. They went from 4-8. They're at the end of the year on a 5-game winning streak, right? I believe it was 5-game winning streak or 5 out of 6. Yeah, 5-game winning streak, 6 out of 7. And this is a Jaguars team that they already beat the Chargers 38-10 in the regular season. Now I know that was week 3, but guess what? That was week 3 when the Jaguars team was just getting together. This is a Jaguars team that's playing a lot better now. Both these teams entering the playoffs on a hot streak, but the Jaguars, they won 5 in a row. They have a coach that's been here, that's won a championship in Doug Peterson against Brandon Staley. And look, the Travis Etienne, he's been a huge running the ball down the stretch of the year. Chargers, they struggle stopping the run. I think the Jaguars are going to win this game. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a big, huge, massive game against that Chargers secondary. I think Etienne has a big game. And after this, we're going to literally start about Trevor Lawrence, where he ranks amongst the top NFL QBs. Because look, I said it once, I'll say it again. If he beats Herbert and can knock off Mahomes or pull off an upset in the second round off a Burrow or an Allen, Lawrence is cementing himself in that tier 2 class with Allen and with Burrow as a top 3, top 4 QB. Like you beat Herbert, you beat one of Allen or Burrow in just your second year, and you go to the AFC title game with this Jaguars roster, you will be a top 3 quarterback in my mind, Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they're going to do it. I think that they will. I think they will beat the Chargers. I think that defense, Josh Allen, they might be getting healthier. Rashawn Slater won't be back for this game. He might be back for a later round, which is huge. But you saw what they were able to do when Rashawn Slater didn't play last time. And I think the Jaguars could fully take advantage of that again. Plus, Mike Williams, we don't know his status. I would assume he plays, but we don't know. Moving on now to the next game, the Saturday night game. The Sunday early afternoon game, Dolphins, Bills. Sorry. Going back to that game, Jaguars, I have them winning outright, covering the 2-point spread then, obviously. Dolphins, Bills, Skylar Thompson's confirmed starting. Dolphins have no chance of winning this game. If Tua was playing, it'd be entertaining. We saw Tua give him a game in Buffalo in what was supposed to be a friggin' storm game. But Skylar Thompson, we see how bad Miami's offense is with him. Tyreek Hill got hurt against the Jets. He's going to play, but won't be 100%. Dolphins, a lot of the team just looks banged up right now. It's been a long year. The Bills are going to win, and honestly, I would take them to cover that 13-point spread. Like, this is probably – if Tua was healthy and had finished the year strong, then this might be the most intriguing matchup. But, I don't really know if it is. Now it's the least. It's probably the least. Cowboys, Bucks. Tom Brady never lost to the Dallas Cowboys in his career. Now, wouldn't that be a way for his career to end? His first career loss to the Dallas Cowboys, who were 2.5-point favorites against the Buccaneers. They played week 1, and the Bucks kind of clowned him in week 1. Dak got hurt. The offense looked embarrassing. And it was part of that week 1 overreaction where, everyone's like, oh, it's going to be a long, long year for Dallas. Cooper Rush. Obviously, Dallas had a good year. After that, they went 12-4 after that game. But one of those losses was last week when they had one of their worst offensive showings in franchise history against the Commanders team that had nothing to play for, that had been eliminated from the playoffs last week. So, yeah, I think that concern for the Cowboys, it's really concerning. Dak Prescott has not looked great in the second half of the year. The running game, they sort of gotten away from that running game. Yeah, it was explosive with Tony Pollard and Zeke, but it hasn't been as explosive in recent weeks. They're going to need to really establish that against Tampa Bay. And they have a tough front with Vita Vea, Levante David. That's why Tampa Bay was really able to dominate Dallas the way they were last time. Look, at the end of the day, it's the playoffs. I've seen the Cowboys choke in the playoffs countless times. I've seen Brady win in the playoffs countless times. Give me the Buccaneers, baby. The Buccaneers are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and they are going to go on to the NFC divisional round. Oh, and then they're going to cover the 2.5-point spread as well. Last but not least, the final game of Wild Card Weekend, the final thing for us to talk about. The New York Football Giants are traveling to Minnesota to play the Vikings in a rematch of a thrilling game from just 3 weeks, or from just three, no, just 3 weeks ago on Christmas Eve. A game that the Giants really should have won, but they ended up blowing it late, and now they get a rematch, and I'm excited for it. I mean, first off, just like I still can't believe we're talking about the Giants playoffs. Like, I mean, this season, I mean, literally the last, as I mentioned, why Dable's coach of the year. This franchise was in a rut, an utter rut, a complete turmoil, a complete mess. We have the worst record in the league since over the last 5 years, tied with the Jets. We've become the laughing stock of the league, and it been sad. We've been the Dable was our fourth coach in whatever it was, 7 years, between Coughlin, Shermer, McAdoo, Spagnola as the interim, Joe Judge. I mean, there was just so much turnover, so much turmoil in the coaching staff, in the Giants front office. There's the awful Gettleman era, these free agent signings, and look, we all came into the year. This year is house money. Show me improvement. Show me modern NFL football. Just show me competitiveness. Where to me, I thought the max I had this team going was 7. That was my optimistic point of view with the Giants. Like, realistically, they'll probably be like anywhere between 4 and 6. Optimistic me is 7 and 8. Well, 9, 7 and 1. We saw modern NFL football. The Giants were the NFL's most efficient teams in the red zone this year. Daniel Jones took good care of the football and really, really became a lot better later in the year. Even during the year, I was still questioning some of Daniel Jones. How good is he? How good is he? He's made me a believer over the course of the year. He looked incredible. He really fits into this system. And when the Giants needed him most in their biggest games against Minnesota and against the Colts, he really stepped up and delivered. The defense making plays all year long. This is without guys. And now against Minnesota, in that loss a couple weeks ago, we did not have Adoree Jackson. We did not have Xavier McKinney. Now we have that. We have McKinney as our best coverage safety, someone who finally could help with helping on Justin Jefferson, someone who's not just Fabian Moreau. Adoree Jackson, they say he's expected to play, but it's not confirmed yet. Having him back, just being there on Justin Jefferson will be huge for us. Obviously, he's going to get some help. But look, I mean, this team, we hung with Minnesota. We should have beaten them last time. It's more than just Justin Jefferson. They're without their right tackle. There's a good chance they're on their third-string center. The Giants' pass rush should be fully healthy this game. That's where they have to take advantage of beating Minnesota, is getting after that. Azeez Ojulari has to build off what he did in the last few weeks of the season. Kayvon Thibodeaux has to build off what he did in the last few weeks of the season. Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams have to be the same players they have all year long. Like, those guys are scary enough. If the Giants can rush 4 and take advantage of it, beat a Vikings offensive line, that'll come a long way to helping limit their passing game. Now, we know Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale is not going to rush 4. He's just like, Wink Martindale is not rushing 4. That's just how it is. Now, against the Vikings, he did do that more often than he usually does do it. Obviously not on that final play. But that's the other. Get after Kirk Cousins. Get the pass rush has to get home. Plain and simple. Do that, and I really, really like our chances to beat the Vikings. Obviously, I feel like they're probably going to run the ball a bit more, given the fact that they had success running the ball last time and then got away from that. I'm sure they're going to see that looking back on film and do that a bit more. So we need our linebackers, especially Landon Collins, who made a lot of plays at linebacker late, really to step up. But overall, I'm really excited. Daniel Jones, he had probably his best or second best game of the season against his Vikings team, which is one of the worst pass defenses in football. Yeah, we don't have those self-inflicted wounds, the drop, the fumble. Daniel Jones and the Giants go into Minnesota and win that game in the regular season, and I think we're doing it in the playoffs. Again, we should have beaten them. We should have beaten them minus our safety, minus our number 1 cornerback, and now they both should be back. I really just like our chance. I really just like the defensive line's chance to expose Minnesota's offensive line injuries and the offensive line woes. Kirk Cousins, he's not a playoff performer. He struggles in the playoffs. We've seen him choke on the big stage now. Okay, I know he got that win against the Saints. He got that monkey off his back, but that was 1 p.m. Kirk also. So it's later in the day, Kirk, and we know he just when he plays later in the day, it's a matter of fact he just doesn't play as good. Is it a mental thing? Regardless, I know I have a good feeling that we're going to win. I think that Isaiah Hodgins, if he can get open, beat Patrick Peterson like he did last time. Darius Slayton's going to have to make some plays deep. That's the thing. Get open against this bad secondary. Pass rush, get a home. I think that we are going to do that. I think we're going to limit the mistakes. I think we're going to have Saquon Barkley involved a lot. Saquon Barkley was sort of rested the last couple of weeks. I think he's going to be a lot more involved in the game. We saw the types of runs he succeeded on in that first game against Minnesota. I think we see a lot of similar to that. I think we see a lot of design runs, keep the Minnesota defense off balance, keep them guessing. I think we did a great job of that the last few weeks. I think we're going to see more of that. Kafka keeping the Vikings defense off balance. I think we're going to see the defense get a home, and we're going to get a pass rush after Kirk Cousins. And my guess is the New York Giants are going to win this game 27-24, and we are going to go into Philly for the next round. Yep, that's my predictions. So, quick recap. I'm going to quickly go through that, and I tweeted these out, but I'm going to go through and just say how I think that they're going to go. So, I mentioned Giants are moving on, Niners are moving on, Bucks are moving on. I have the Niners then beating the Bucks in the divisional round. I would love to. The Giants are just not going to beat Philly in the divisional round, especially with Philly coming off a bye. But if we somehow did, oh boy, Philly fans, you would not hear the end of it from me. So then I have the Niners with Brock Purdy beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, going to the Super Bowl. AFC, I said I have the Bills, I have the Bengals, I have the Jaguars moving on. I think the Chiefs, I said Trevor Lawrence, if he could get to the AFC Championship game, could cement himself as a top 3 quarterback in football. Don't think he does just yet. I have the Chiefs beating the Jaguars, I have the Bills beating the Bengals, and I have the Bills beating the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. So I have a Bills-Niners Super Bowl. I'm still going back and forth on it, but right now I'm saying the Niners win it, led by Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, sticking with my midseason pick. And that's about it, everyone. That's all I had to talk about. A little college basketball here and there, a little college career here and there, college football, and now the NFL playoffs. Again, I want to thank everybody who supported the podcast thus far. Remember, go follow the Bird's Eye View podcast on Instagram for all my latest episode releases. Go follow Jay Bird's Eye View on Twitter for all my latest live reactions to news, games, and also the episode releases. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.